All right, so I'm gonna teach you how to draw the hand. So with the hand, when I start sketching, I start off with like this square shape. And then I always kind of used to mess up on the thumbs. Now you guys don't have to do this at home. I'm simply doing this so that like when I'm drawing these lines on the paper, you can see what I'm talking about. And this is Sharpie. So it might be there tomorrow too. That's okay. All right. So this looks a little weird, but put the Sharpie away. All right. So I know some of you are like, I'm just going to trace my hand. She'll never know. Please don't do that. I mean, I have no control over that, but I really want you guys to learn how to do this. All right. So the easiest thing to draw something is to look at it. So I'm going to start off with a with a square. Make sure you give yourself enough room to finish the whole hand. And I know that you might be thinking, how much room will I need? So if you look, the size of the square, my fingers are actually going to be, my longest finger, which is my driving finger, is going to be larger than this square. So we want to make sure that we leave at least this square and a square and a half, I guess. A square plus a half for the fingers. Does this make sense to you guys? Possible? So we start off with this. One thing that I never could get until I actually drew on my own hand is that the thumb is connected to the hand separately than the fingers. I know you're probably going, duh, Miss Dennis, you can just look at it, but it didn't really click for me until then. So right about here, you can do like a little triangular nub. And see, this can move. So, but if my hand is going to be out, the triangle would be right here. So we've got this. So we start with a square. Then we do the triangle nub for the thumb. Okay. Other things that I want you to look at, because a lot of drawing is observation. Sometimes people will draw all their fingers the same size, but you can see that when they're together like this, it's more of like a you can see that this finger's the longest. So the fingers actually go in an arc in length. But the same thing happens with the knuckles too. And right here. So, and we'll say that like where they bend is going to be about halfway. Am I throwing too much information at you guys? Are we good? I'm going to try to make this a little bit closer for you. All right, so we've got the square, triangular nub, okay, and then all of these, I thought I was done, but I wasn't. The bones in your hands go through like that. So it does let you know, it does make it a little bit easier to know that they kind of come here and radiate out. Okay. Start from the center and then kind of spread out. So I kind of put a little dot here. And we're going to kind of connect it. I'm going to divide these up into the dots here. Okay, so this is like the palm of the hand. Okay, and then I'm putting these dots here so that you know where they're to represent the knuckles. And I'm trying to draw kind of like the bones or the that will go here. And I have a bad habit of pressing down really hard when I'm drawing with pencil. So it's always better to draw lightly until you're sure. Okay, so if I was making a fist, like, and I was looking down at it, the wrist is gonna, this kind of connects like this. Can I get a thumbs up if this is making sense to you guys and you can replicate what I'm doing? Thank you. Give me a thumbs up. Okay, so we said that, so look, you guys, we've already done half of the hand. If you've done this square shape, this triangular nub, this almost parallelogram looking thing, which is going to be your wrist. And we've got that little bone there. We've already done half the hand, okay? So now let's talk about fingers. So if we're going to draw the hand out like this, we've already said that we need to, and this would be where we talk about proportions and ratio. Yeah. So Nalia, you're watching Miss Dennis in it live, showing you guys how to draw a hand. And I am recording it, but you'll need a piece of paper and a writing utensil. And we start off with a square here. We're doing a practice hand drawing. This is the little nub for the thumb, and we divided it up here. And we were just talking about proportions. So the size of the palm of the hand is, the fingers are going to be the same size as that square, but a little bit longer. So if this is here, and I'm just doing a little guideline very lightly on my paper to show this would be the same distance, my fingers are going to go a little bit more. So we'll say right about there. So it's not actually 1.5 squares. It's probably 1 1/3 or something, but we want to make sure that we have enough room. Okay. And so these lines replicate the bones inside the hand. Okay. Now, halfway, and then Kristen, you can tell me if I'm right, but like this would, if for self-defense reasons, if you go like that, that would be better to hit somebody with than straight out with your fingers. Throat chop.
Yeah, yes and no. It
Yes and
matters
no?
where it matters where you put in your force, and if you're doing a full-on punch or if you're doing a setup and then a punch, kind of like the Bruce Lee movies, where he puts his hand just to the stomach and then punches from there. It matters where you're going.
It was all about the using the energy from your core, I
Pretty
think.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I always kind of think about that. Anyway, I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan. I am. All right. So if this is the length of the fingers, okay, so we've established the guideline for the length of the fingers. We're going to come about halfway from where we did the square, okay, to the tips of the fingers. This is the guideline. I don't know if you can see that guideline. It might even be backwards for you guys. Tips. So we're going to go, so this is the space here that is going to be for the fingers, about halfway. This is where we're going to put the knuckles. And I'm hoping I spelled knuckles right. It's one of those words that doesn't really, it's not really spelled the way it sounds. All right, so is everything okay? You organized all those cables? You rock. And labeled them? Yeah. Awesome. If you want to work on Legos, you can. You're like, oh, do you know how to make a throwing star out of Legos? Okay. Yeah. That's like Forged in Fire. I just gave you a challenge, a Lego challenge. Okay. So this arc, okay, I'm going to do like an arc because I like this. Going to kind of show you where these bendy points are going to line up. Okay. And if you're not listening while I'm doing this, you're only getting half of the information. I'm very guilty of just watching the video instead of listening to the person. But okay, so our fingers. You'll notice that this is a curve like that. Okay. Actually, might be more of an arc like this. Okay. And you'll notice that like I'll start off with guidelines and a lot of times they're going to get erased because those were just estimates. And then when I look back closer, that it's possible that the proportions were off. Okay. And then I'm going to connect. It's like the frame that we made the person out of. So imagine that these lines that I'm creating are the bones for the hands or for the fingers. Okay. Is everybody good or with me? Am I going too fast?
So it's just make them slanted or straight.
Um, the lining up for the knuckles is going to be kind of like a slant like this. Because if you look, it goes up like this, and then this. I don't know why our hands were created that way. But if you look, if we're if we're holding something, the fingers are the same length, except when they're not bending, they aren't. Okay. Now, you see how this angle, these two angles we've got here and here, that's going to be the same thing up here and here. That's going to be where the tips of the fingers stop. So we've got and let's see. I will make the bendy places red. I hope I'm not making this more difficult for you guys. Does anybody need me to give them more time before we progress to the thumb? Obviously, these fingers aren't finished, but we're just doing the framework. This equals bend. Okay, so we have just a review. And you don't have to do this in Sharpie. I want to be able to make sure that you can still see the basic shapes that we started with. Sometimes I get lost. And then these all radiate out from. See, if I was a pro like Mr. Jim Lee, I could just draw it like this, but I always need a little bit of room to correct myself. So that's, and like this. And again, we were talking about the arc here. And then if I look, this is actually significantly less. And so some of this probably would be to here. That's why it's good to always draw in pencil, especially if you're learning something new. Okay. Now next, we're going to work on the framework of the thumb. All right, so we have this square shape. Can I get a thumbs up to see if you guys are ready for me to move on to the thumb? If I could get a thumbs up. Thank you. All right. So we've got the square here and this little triangular nub. And if we were to stretch the hand out, okay, the thumb is going to come out like this. Of course, it's not going to be that long. Okay. The thumb lines up like if you look at if you were going to look at the finger, like your pointer finger, the thumb ends at about where the a little bit above this knuckle right here. So if I kept up this arc, that's going to show me about where the length of my thumb will come out. drawing thumbs it's not easy, but it's not impossible either. So we can start off with just a line like that. So we continued this arc. Now we'll and then if it doesn't look like right, we can keep working with it. Okay. So now we've got the framework, kind of the bones. And your fingers are actually called phalanges. Just throwing that out there for you. So now what we're going to do is we've got the framework. It's good to kind of break the hand down like this whenever you're working, because it allows you to have a more variety of hand poses, especially if you plan on being a hand model. I'm joking. There are things as such thing as a hand model, but if you were trying to figure out a pose with your hand, probably a better process would be to put on like a plastic glove and then draw on the plastic glove rather than your hand. But anyway, to finish the hand, so we want to change these lines into shapes. Now these lines represent the bones. So now we're going to change the lines to shapes. All right. So one thing that you may want to do is looking in between each of these red places, there is going to be kind of like a V that's created by this negative space. And you'll notice that I'm adding I'm leaving some a little bit of room because there's a lot of tissue in here. There are tendons. The tendons are like rubber bands. They help you bend these phalanges. Okay. And so then what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of draw around this. And by creating these little V's, I'll go in a little closer. Oops. By creating the little V's, you know where to draw your line or where the shape stops. And again, we're drawing these very lightly because if we mess up and these are wrong, it's going to be easier to erase if you have to make any adjustments. And if you look at it, these would be like small ovals. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see that. And so this kind of like that, and there's like a little, I don't know what it's called, but there's that little round bone here, and then you have this goes into your wrist. All right, and then when we do our thumb, we're going to do the V here as well. Looks really weird. So this goes with that, and there's like a little bit of the tip that comes up like that. And that should be our, I'm going to outline this hand shape for you. So this green is actually the outline of the hand, like the outer part of the skin. See. Okay. Let's see.